Welcome to Otaku Evolution. I'm Mike, Penguin Truth. Wow, 50 episodes. You'd almost think that was some kind of accomplishment. Like I'm here doing some kind of well-regarded series, instead of whatever this is. 50. I think that's the number of people who've watched my videos. Most people would consider this an abysmal failure, but not me. Anyway, Heroic Legend of Arslan. Based on the novels by Yoshiki Tanaka, the creator of Legend of the Galactic Heroes and Ryoko's Case Files, Heroic Legend of Arslan is a fantasy with a fictional Persian setting, the kingdom of Pars. Our central hero is the teen prince of Pars, Arslan, a gentle soul in a violent world. Due to traitors and witchcraft, the Pars military meets a terrible defeat on the battlefield. Their king is captured and their capital, Ekabatana, is occupied by the people of Lusitania. Prince Arslan has to go on the run with his protector, Dariun, strategist and court outcast, Narcissus, Narcissus' servant, Elam, traveling minstrel, Give, priestess, Ferengis, and later others, to rally the remaining Persian forces to recapture the capital. But on their trail, along with Lusitanian warriors, is a man named Silver Mask, who claims to be the legitimate heir to the throne and wants revenge on King Andragoras and his family. It's a 6-part OVA, but I'm only covering the first 2 episodes in my let's stretch this shit out strategy. It's why to date I've only reviewed one of the 2 Silent Mobius movies, only the first part of the Gundam movie trilogy, only the first Tenchi OVA, and not even all of Kakaider the animation. You can call it lazy, but friends, I call it pre-programming. Expect the first 2 episodes of the Blackjack OVA, just the first episode of Cyber City Oedo, and a couple of minutes of Shadow Skill 2. Sometime next year. Hey, maybe I'll throw in a random loop on the 3rd episode and a single Gotham Knight short review. Am I kidding? Who knows? Anyway, with the animated TV series based on Hiromu Arakawa's manga adaptation out recently, I thought it would be appropriate to visit the anime from the early 90s. So let's take a look at it, folks. It's a ride. We start out with a disagreement in the court of King Andragoras, where Dariun, a commander in the Persian army, echoes Prince Arslan's worries about an unnatural mist in the battlefield. Though Dariun's uncle, a trusted general, defends him against the king's outrage, he's stripped of his command. His uncle assigns him to protect Prince Arslan, who is taking part in his first ever battle. When the battle begins, the treacherous commander Karlan lures Persian troops into a trap, and many are burned alive. Arslan, threatened by a Lusitanian soldier, is saved by Dariun. The king and his closest men try to make their way back to the capital, but the villain Silver Mask blocks their path. He has the king's men killed and captures him. Dariun, meanwhile, plans to take refuge with an old ally, Narcissus. Narcissus has lived in seclusion since an argument with the king years ago, when he pleaded to abolish slavery. He spends his day painting, though we never seem to see any, and Dariun thinks the paintings are terrible. At first the man wants nothing to do with Arslan's struggle, but the gentle prince appeals to his hobby.
Narcissus, I sympathize with you, and what I propose is to offer you a reward for helping us to overcome our enemies.
Aha, a reward. You think I can be bought?
Please don't think I'm trying to offend you. However, when I become the king of Pulsar, I will appoint you Imperial Artist. Then no one will dare criticize your art.
Your Highness, granting him the appointment of Imperial Artist would be like putting a priest in charge of a brothel. It would be a disaster for all concerned.
Darian, please allow me to be the one to make the appointments. I'd rather have Narcissus paint me alive than my enemies paint me as a dead man.
Would you please make a note of that? My dear friend, Prince Arslan knows how to recognize talent and good taste, unlike you, who will certainly never be more than an ignoramus when it comes to art. And furthermore, I'm still very unhappy with your devious behavior in the way you tricked me into getting involved in your schemes.
Does that mean what I think it means? That you'll accept my request and join us?
Yes, but we'd better get ready to leave before I have time to think things over.
Is everybody in this world just dedicated to combat? I admire a king who goes to fight with his men, but it's not really the wisest move in terms of a line of succession, especially when you bring the only prince to the battlefield too. Particularly this one, who isn't too proficient in fighting. And Narcissus is just going to join what is bound to be a bloody fight so that he can raise the reputation of his artwork? Does nobody just do a regular day job? Says the internet video reviewer. Consider becoming a patron, by the way. As Lusitanian forces surround Ecbatana, they parade their captives before the people of the capital. This bigwig religious figure tortures one of the military commanders to break the will of the citizens. However, arrows put the poor man out of his misery. The archer responsible is my favorite character, the traveling musician and master of many trades, Give. And for this service he is brought before the Queen of Pars for his reward, though there is some concern for his personality.
Wait! Stop! Don't believe this dishonest man! He's lying, Your Majesty!
Surely not. I saw myself how he helped poor Shapul out of his misery.
But he's of a dishonest character. He pretended to me he was a prince from an eastern country, travelling in disguise, because he wanted to find out how ordinary people lived. Isn't that what you said? Isn't that how you passed yourself off?
Yes, I must admit you're right, but surely I might be allowed my dreams and fantasies, even sometimes to share them with a beautiful woman. We shared our dreams for a night, and when darkness gave way to dawn, the dreams disappeared. Like the early morning dew on a blade of grass, leaving behind only beautiful memories. Wouldn't it be a shame if through bitterness and jealousy we destroyed the wonderful memories of that night? I can assure you with all my heart and with all my soul that time will make these memories even sweeter than you could ever think possible.
We fully understand your eloquent speech. However, to make amends to my handmaiden for deceiving her, we shall deduct compensation from the reward, leaving you with 200 gold pieces.
Your Majesty.
Eventually, the city is penetrated by the enemy, and Give is given the task to escort the queen to safety through the underground passages. However, he quickly surmises that the woman in his company is not the queen, but a decoy. When she walks off on her own, she runs into Silver Mask, who kills her. Give is incensed by the death of a pretty girl, and challenges him. Meanwhile, the treacherous Karlan leads the takeover of the city. Give makes short work of Silver Mask's men after the man himself moves off ahead. Boy, do the Lusitania forces do a number on Ecbatana, wrecking artifacts and burning texts, but soon it's business as usual, even under the rule of Lusitania, and Karlan is heralded as a hero for the regime change. I guess not many people really liked Andragoras. Give overhears a woman being threatened by Lusitanian soldiers, and decides that as she is beautiful, she's worth assisting. However, the woman is a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, and she butchers them. Give is shocked, dismayed, and turned on. He turns on the charm for her, but she's not impressed by his recitation of poetry. It turns out that she's a priestess who's been sent to protect Arslan, as he was prophesied to be integral to the prosperity of the land.
I think your spirit is growing weary of being a trickster and a clown.
What do you mean? I don't understand what it is you're saying.
You want to give the appearance of not caring about anything except yourself. But I feel that you're unhappy. You're looking for a quest that will give your life a purpose. Does this make sense to you?
More than that. You have seen inside my soul. I'm ashamed it's so transparent.
It is not, but because I am trained to look into matters of the spirit, I can see these things.
I am blessed by the kind hand of destiny which brought us together, and I'd be honored if you'd agree to my traveling with you.
Only if you declare your loyalty to Prince Arslan.
I confess that loyalty is not my strongest virtue. The little I have is all for you.
I don't need your loyalty.
Eventually, Karlan, on Arslan's trail, catches up to him with his soldiers. They make the mistake of thinking he's alone, and many suffer for it. Ferengis and Give leap in to assist Arslan's forces, and Dariun takes on Karlan himself. Carlin's troops don't seem to care about him, so they jet off, and cornered, the traitor jumps to his doom. Silver Mask learns from his magician ally that Carlin has died. Undeterred, the masked man visits the captured Andragoras to gloat about his position. The king doesn't know who the conqueror is at first, but he reveals his face and identity.
You still don't know who I am, do you? Well, let me show you my poor burned face.
Look at me. Look at your handiwork of 16 years ago.
No. Is it really you, Hermes?
Yes, it is I, Hermes, son of Osros, the true king of Pulsar. You thought I too had been murdered the night you stole the throne? Didn't I say look at me? Well, you were wrong. Thanks to my nurse, I escaped the sea of fire your men had laid down for me and the prince, my brother, and my mother. But in return for saving us from the fire, the goddess of destiny claimed half my face. My little brother was killed on the road by your soldiers, and my mother, but you can't even begin to realize what I've been suffering these last 16 years, and now it's going to be your turn, so you can start imagining what horrors the future holds for your wife and your son. Not to mention your own future.
Part 1 of the story ends with Arslan's group growing. With Daryun, Narcissus, Elam, Give, and Ferengis, there are now 6 of them in total. That should be enough to take on thousands of troops, right? I guess he's going to have to recruit a few more hands if he wants to take back the kingdom. So, that was the entire first episode. And it was pretty, fast-paced. In fact, so fast-paced, you might say it's sudden-paced. Maybe this is just because I've been watching the television series based on Arakawa's manga, but the plot seems to spring from one point to the next at breakneck speed without really allowing time for immersion, and the next episode isn't very different in that regard. A harvest moon has risen, and from the darkness deep emerges Fruitables by Lucky Squid Studios. Hauntingly precious fruit animal hybrid plushies conceived of in a ghoulish ritual by 3 dark mages. Eerie orange fox, spooky octo cherry, frightening eggplantibus. They'll petrify you with cuteness, as will dragon fruit and other designs. You can find Lucky Squid goods at Store Envy and Society 6. Fruitimals from Lucky Squid Studios. Buy them, or I'm coming for you! Our second episode opens with a parade of lights dancing in the darkness, the torches of a pursuing Lusitanian company, hot on the heels of Arslan's group. Arrows fly by the dozens as the enemy bears down on our heroes. Daryun suggests splitting up, but the prince rejects the plan, asserting that there's strength in numbers, though they haven't got numbers. Narcissus suggests that they at least split into 2 groups to confuse their pursuers. They decide that they will meet at the fortress in the Peshawar area later. We're introduced to another new character, Alfred, when her bandit team has been massacred by Silver Mask and his men. However, Narcissus comes to her aid, apparently just as a sand cyclone comes around. Narcissus takes off with Alfred while the wind does its own work. Meanwhile, Daryun squares off with Carlin's son on a bridge. But backup from Peshawar arrives before their fight heats up, and the enemy flees. At night at Peshawar, Silver Mask appears and confronts a High Lord of Persia, Bachman, with his identity. Arslan meets Silver Mask at last, and they exchange sword swings, as the latter accuses Arslan of being an illegitimate heir. Silver Mask freaks out, though, when he sees fire, and is forced to flee when the fortress's commander challenges him. Next, our heroes get embroiled in a conflict involving the country of Shindra, where the 2 princes are fighting for the crown. The younger prince Rajendra is in conflict with the elder prince Gedevi to succeed his father on the throne, and Arslan decides to strike a deal with Rajendra to obtain a new ally to take back Pars. There is no love lost between the brothers, and they meet in battle. An awesome elephant-back battle that the Persian troops under Arslan interfere in. The elder prince decides to settle things with his brother by having them each pick a champion to fight in an arena battle to decide who will rule Shindra. Brajendra suggests they use Daryun. Unfortunately, Daryun's opponent is this gigantic mutant. And that's not all the eldest prince plans. He sends an assassin to kill Arslan as he watches the fight. Things turn grim when Daryun's sword is broken.
Fight like a man! Oh! If Daryon is even so much as scratched by that monster, I'll have your head. And don't think I'm joking, because I've never been more serious in all my life. Oh! So you'd better start praying that he'll win. Please, Your Highness, I apologize, I beg you. Please, Your Highness, I'm in no disrespect. Can somebody please tell him to stop?
It looks like the prince has finally lost his temper with our new ally. Should we intervene before it's too late?
I wouldn't presume to interfere. Legendra had it coming to him.
Even if only one of the Shindra princes had half the courage and integrity of the Persian prince, the old king could have chosen his successor instead of leaving it to be decided like this.
But apparently Daryun has the power! And fries the giant with a swing of the blade and some lightning. The assassin decides not to hurt Arslan with the turning of tide against his employer, and because of the bravery of Daryun. And the young Prince Brajendra is thankful towards Arslan.
How can I repay this great debt, Prince Arslan? If there is anything you want, anything I can do, please just say the word.
Thank you, Your Majesty. And there is one thing I would like you to do for me. You can abolish slavery throughout your kingdom forever.
The assassin, Jaswant, decides to join Arslan's group, and now with 2 new allies, plus the army at Peshawar, Arslan's group has grown pretty respectably sized. Slow down, Heroic Legend of Arslan OVA! What are you trying to do, win a race? Half the time this OVA feels more like compilation movies rather than a full adaptation of a series of novels. The story seems to speed from one plot point to the next in a rushed, haphazard manner, leaving much to be desired in characterization. The characters aren't flat per se, but you want them to shine a little longer. And events seem to peter out one by one, making for several anticlimaxes. But, like I said, I've been watching the television series, so that's likely a big reason I feel this is so hurried. I wonder, though, whether Tanaka's novels are like this and Arakawa just expanded on them, or the OVA was meant to be a highlight reel. We'll see if this continues into the next few episodes. I'll cover the 3rd and 4th sometime in the near future in an effort to milk this shamelessly. So, yeah, 50 episodes! That was something, wasn't it? Or at least it would be if you people would actually watch this show. Then rewatch it, damn it. But enough of that for now. In the spirit of the oncoming Halloween, the next 2 episodes are dedicated to the spooky show about the notebook that kills you, and somehow never runs out of pages. There's a forest missing somewhere, because next time I'll be looking at Death Note. Until then, see ya!